In the last decade, Amazon PPC went from this little side project to gain a small advantage to basically the whole game. And this has put sellers in a really difficult position because you know that you can beat your competition in almost every possible metric: better product, better service, better packaging, better price. But if they beat you at PPC, they win. In the long term, your audience might learn that your product is a better option, but it'll probably be too late as you'll have run out of money. So PPC is do or die, but it's a complete minefield. And these are the three main problems. 1. Who should run your PPC? If you run your PPC yourself, then on one hand, at least you know exactly what's going on, the money you're spending and where it's being spent. But that comes at a cost. Not only do you have to sink a huge amount of time into learning and running your own PPC, but you also have no real way to know if you're missing something or even doing the right thing. It's just you, a few YouTube videos against the Amazon algorithm. With an in-house team, you will spend less time personally on the campaigns and still have a good overview of what's happening, but do you know enough to judge if the person or people you've hired are doing a good job? And so, a lot of people eventually hire an agency, but not because they really believe in that agency, but just so they don't have to deal with the headache of PPC themselves. And you just hire who you can afford, not the absolute best fit for your business. But then you lose all oversight, and the agency doesn't understand all of the details of your business operations that really impact how profitable you are. You see, the agency's job is to just make your PPC work, not make your business profitable, and those are two very different things. And we're going to talk about this in more detail later on. Problem number 2, data. Amazon PPC involves a ton of data. And if you don't know exactly what to look for, some of those numbers can be incredibly misleading and might lead to you making some very dangerous decisions. And most of the tools out there are completely useless. They just represent all of the same data, maybe with some slightly nicer design and some buttons, but all they really do is repackage the exact same data that Amazon produces. Problem 3, PPC advice. This is the worst trap that people fall into, and we've seen business after business lose huge amounts of money because they didn't understand this problem. So here's the issue, and I'm going to give you a real example to make it clear. A few years ago, some of our team were at a big Amazon meetup where people were sharing tactics. And there was this one guy who was making an absolute killing in the supplement space. He was extremely open with his processes and his data. He stuck it all up on a big screen and showed exactly what he was doing, the money he was spending, the profit he was making, and so on. He was so helpful, and he had a killer setup, and he spent hours going into every detail of how he did it. People were blown away. So, of course, a lot of people copied it, exactly how he told them to, step by step. And some of them almost went out of business. His advice was absolutely brilliant if you were in his niche, selling a similar supplement to him with a similar price point and a similar lifetime value on the customer. But the more different your product was, the worse and worse that advice became. There was a baby brand, a kitchen appliance business, a dog accessories store, all trying to copy this hardcore supplement setup, when they had wildly different audience, price, and ordering habits and everything else. This supplement guy was legit. He was telling the truth, and his setup was excellent. But for a lot of the audience, his advice was a time bomb that was going to blow up their business if they followed it. And I don't blame them. How are you supposed to know that? We've all been there. In fact, the whole idea for Titan Network came about because we were all successful sellers on Amazon who began to see how quickly PPC was taking over. So we teamed up to share information and tactics, and in the first year or two, that worked really well. The early Amazon PPC was not that sophisticated, so if one person found something that worked, it generally worked for the rest of us. But that stopped a few years ago. It got harder and harder every year to share advice. But luckily, by that point, Titan Network had grown a lot, operating over 50 million a year of our own brands with over 700 products, as well as being involved in another 50 million in our partner brands and having thousands of members feeding back on what's working into our platform. And this meant that we had an absolutely gigantic pool of data where we could start to break down why some PPC tactics worked for some sellers and was a nightmare for others. We could see thousands of different sellers and build a much clearer picture of specific products, customers, business operations, and how that affected the type of PPC required. So this is how we solved Amazon PPC. We built the product type framework and developed PPC strategies based on these specific types. We can now look at any seller, any product, any brand, and tell you what product type you are and immediately identify what you should and shouldn't be doing with your PPC. Now, of course, that doesn't mean it can all just be cookie cutter advice for everyone in that type, but it will fix the big problems that are either wasting the most money or leaving the most profit on the table. This was only possible because we had literally hundreds of millions of dollars in data from thousands of brands. There is no seller or agency in the world that could see what we saw. By identifying your product type, you realize that you or your agency should never dictate what PPC strategy to use. Your customers dictate it every single time. Who they are, how they search, how they make choices, that is the only place to build your PPC strategy, and the product type framework is built from the customer behavior. That's the starting point. And when we started applying it, the results were like magic. We saw seller after seller coming to us, and we could immediately identify huge sums being wasted or profits being missed, often in 30 to 60 days. They were often adding 20 to 30% to their profit. By solving problem 3 with the product type framework, we had an instant impact for everyone we worked with. But that still left problems 1 and 2. Everyone still needs the right person to run their PPC and a way to manage all that data. And it turns out these 2 problems were more connected than we realized. We tried out software after software, tool after tool, and none of them were helping us. We just ended up wasting weeks learning how they worked, only to see that it was just the same data from the Amazon PPC dashboard in a slightly different design. We had to build something ourselves, and it had to be a tool that dramatically simplified and sped up the whole PPC process. So we did. The Titan tools took us a lot of time and money to get right, but when they were ready, they changed everything for us. Now the data wasn't just easier to manage and faster to find what you needed, but we also built a ton of automation and filtering, so you could cut right to the stuff that was most relevant and important to your product type and your specific PPC strategy. Titan Tools puts the KPIs you need in front of you instantly, so you can make the decisions that really move the needle. And this also brings us back to problem number 1 that we talked about right at the beginning of this video. Who should be running your PPC? This is where the data issue becomes extremely important for successful PPC and is the biggest reason why so many sellers find it so hard to get the results that they need, even when working with an agency. The agencies see their job as making your PPC work, and that's how the strategy is talked about and what all the conversations focus on. But what you actually need is more revenue and more profit. Those 2 things are not the same. There are plenty of times that an agency can point to this metric and that metric and show you what has improved. But you're not actually seeing the money in your business, and that can be incredibly frustrating. And it's also very hard to say who's actually in the wrong. Are your agency doing a bad job or a good job? And is this mismatch your fault or theirs? Successful PPC has to account for exactly how your business operates so that you are optimizing around the metric that increases revenue and profit, not around the metrics that make your PPC look good on paper. So it doesn't matter who's running your PPC, whether it's you, an in-house team, or an agency, if you don't know exactly what data really matters and how to find it. That's exactly what our tools and our training do. So here's what I want you to do about it. We've set up the Amazon PPC Challenge. This is a 5-day challenge where you'll spend just 1 to 2 hours a day learning how to find your product type and build a PPC strategy around that to profitably scale much faster and more effectively than anything you've ever done. We'll give you access to Titan Tools so you can see how much easier it makes your life and how simple it is to implement your strategy once you've learned your product type. We'll go through all of the major mistakes that people are making in 2024 and how to cut all of the stress out of PPC so that you can be totally confident in what you're running. And probably the thing that people love the most, we're going to find every penny that you're wasting on ad spend right now, cut it out completely so you can put real dollars back in your pocket, probably a lot of real dollars. So now there is just one final question, the price. We know for a fact that we can have a dramatic impact on your business and that there are no better people in the world to fix your Amazon PPC. No one has seen anywhere close to the amount of seller accounts and data, not spent the kind of money that we spend every single year in so many different product categories. But you don't know us yet, and today might even be the first time you've heard about us. So this Amazon PPC Challenge has 2 purposes. The most important goal is to give you the knowledge and the confidence that you need to look at your PPC and really see what needs to be done for you to succeed and scale profitably as a seller. But it also gives us 5 days to prove to you, beyond a doubt, that we are the experts we claim to be, and that Titan Network will be the perfect partner to scale your business, both in the short term and long term, just like we have for hundreds of other successful sellers. So you can join the challenge for just $7. Now, initially, we ran this challenge for free, but it brought in far too many complete beginners who sucked up all of our time answering basic questions that they could have Googled and had no time to help the real businesses, just like yours, who are hungry to scale. We found that $7 is just enough to filter out the beginners, and find people who are really serious about Amazon PPC and excited to put all of this into practice right now. And the amount of money you're going to save when we show you where you are wasting money on PPC is going to make this seem like the best $7 you ever spent. So here's what you need to do. Click the button below that says Join the Challenge. You'll be taken through a simple order form, basic business survey, and then you'll jump on a call with a member of my team who will onboard you into Titan Tools and get you access to the training. Now, if you're just starting your Amazon journey, then this challenge isn't for you, as you're not going to have enough data about your product, your customers, or your PPC to have an impact. But for any seller who is frustrated with their PPC, whether that's running it yourself, in-house, or you're just not getting the results that you want from your agency you're working with, then this 5-day Amazon PPC challenge is going to turn your PPC from something you have to do into something you are genuinely excited by, because you can see the impact it's having on your revenue and profit without sucking up all of your time. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate your time. And just click the button below to join us in the Amazon PPC Challenge.
Joining a community like Titan is one of those ways to spark a spiral upward.
What you're getting access to is information that no one else has access to.
Most amazing about Titan are these incredible tools. They are so helpful. They innovate them.
There is no better place to be when it comes to learning about Amazon.
There's an abundance mentality. They're willing to help you. They want you to succeed.
I found stuff that I was doing wrong that now I'm doing right.
You can do it the hard way, or you can do it with Titan Tools.
Titan Tools is a game changer.
Surround yourself with all the people who are passionate about doing this business to move you to the next level.
For anyone who feels that they know everything already, to see, you really don't know what you don't know.
That big step ladder up, it's just really fast.
It's hands down the best in the industry.
Amazon is changing on the fly all the time.
If you're not a part of Titan, join Titan, look into it.
And you're gonna see how you're gonna succeed and scale so fast.
Be a part of the community that's helped us become as successful as we are today.